Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Merge Roundtable. I am surrounded by my friends. We're going to talk about some things today of interest. We're going to talk a little bit about regulation of Airbnb, particularly here in Dallas. A little bit of narrow casting, but it could have some nationwide implications. And we're going to talk about the new Instagram Threads product. I am surrounded by, as I said, my friends. Jen Delpreet works here at Harper Belmont as a producer, and you're kind of interning over the summer. Yeah. To my right, Kate and Claire of, what was this?
My sex coach.
And our friend Josh Stramiello, who also has the show Not Your Lawyer.
Not Your Lawyer. Yeah, I'm an attorney.
And we'll be back right after this intro. Okay, so the big story is the Threads thing today. I'm sure that was our headline on the live channel. I am ashamed to say that I've created an account. As much as I hate Facebook and
Ashamed?
the whole ashamed, yeah, sucks.
Where does the shame come from?
It's shame because I am a huge open source advocate. I've been using Mastodon for close to 6 or 7 years now.
I actually own NBA at Mastodon.
Yeah.
And I haven't done it. Yeah, I haven't done
I didn't
anything
even
with
know that.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with it, and now I get like 100 notifications in that email box because people keep tagging at NBA, and it's just me. But Mastodon is pretty small.
Well, no, I mean it's 30 million users.
Maybe I should use that account.
I got on it back in the day. I did it, or I got on when there was a big influx for Twitter, so sex worker Twitter. But that almost doesn't even make sense because Twitter is so sex worker like free. It doesn't make sense to have a Twitter and then also Twitter. That's also very not unsafe for work.
Well, it wasn't about the reason why Twitter came and then why it went was not because of the sex worker friendliness of Twitter, but it was after Sesta Fosta came out.
Oh yeah,
it was
yeah.
more about data privacy.
Yeah,
it's my least favorite Rastafarian Jamaican man.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I kind of don't. I would prefer if the world all went to Mastodon, and that was one of the selling points. Is this thing is supposed to be Fediverse compatible? It is part of the Mastodon network, eventually, supposedly. I think it's probably a head fake.
Is Mastodon's thing is decentralized?
It's
open source.
It's more decentralized than a regular social network, but it wouldn't be like full decentralization.
I should check it out again. I do own that handle.
Isn't it kind? But wouldn't it be kind of similar to Reddit in that way? I have a hard time telling the difference between the two, even though I've been on both. But.
So you can log on. So the best way to describe the Fediverse is to say it's a little bit like WordPress, in that you can read a ton of different WordPress websites if you have an RSS reader without actually going to those WordPress websites. You just have an RSS reader and you have like your 50 blogs that you read and your news sources, and they all come in the one little spot. That's the way the Fediverse works. I have an instance called blockriot.com. There's mastodon.social. There was switter.at.
Yeah.
They all exist within the Fediverse.
Fair.
You can follow somebody on another instance from your own instance.
Yeah.
And communicate back and forth, or you can just be on the same server. And talk
Wow,
to people.
this is riveting technical documentation that you're reading this through. So I guess we're talking about how Threads is
helpful to
basically
me.
Twitter.
Well, this is the system that, I mean, people are logging into Meta. They don't know any of this stuff. This is how Meta is proposing it's going to work, is it's going to be part of the Fediverse.
Threads, everyone made a Threads account?
I don't know what is Threads.
Came out like 2
It's
days ago?
it's Instagram for annoying people.
Yeah.
It's Twitter,
Oh,
but it's on
so-
Instagram, and it's owned by Facebook. This is easy. Come on, people.
Okay. It's not already on Instagram. It's a completely different new thing.
Yes and no.
It's like a
Okay.
KFC Taco Bell.
Yeah, there you go.
It's integrated.
It's a combination.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're in
Okay,
line
okay.
for what you think is a Taco Bell, and they're like, "Do you want chicken?" And now you trust the entire establishment a little less. That's what's going on.
Okay. So when is this when I go to my messages and then I click messages, and then at the top it's got a new feature in Instagram. Is that the thing that we're
It'll
talking-
actually make you download a new app, but
Okay,
it
never
ports
mind.
your
Okay.
contact list, and it's basically Twitter, but it doesn't have
Got it.
messaging because they didn't have enough time to steal that. So it just takes you back to Instagram so you can stay in the DMs.
Okay,
Right.
So it's
fair.
like a bare bones Twitter with all your Instagram followers. I mean, I'll tell you who the winners are
Okay.
here. I mean, if you're a massive social media icon and you have a large following that's already following you on like every major platform, you just got another account that didn't even need time to grow. It just ports everyone over. So like if you had 100,000 on IG or 1 million on IG, it's like now you have whatever percentage of people have come over to Threads. And that's dope because I don't think we've seen that happen before. And because of this, I don't know if it's going to count towards breaking ChatGPT's record. Like ChatGPT was like the fastest ever to 1 million users.
It's definitely a growth hack.
Yeah.
type
I don't know if
deal.
this counts like towards that because they're just like, it's kind of more like a Instagram product than it is. It's a standalone
Right.
I
platform.
mean, everyone's counting it as that, whether it counts or not. That's the headline.
Yeah, but like if Facebook changes Messenger to where now it's a separate company and Messenger has 1 billion people overnight, does that count? It's
I mean,
just-
this is the same debate people
Yeah.
had about Google Plus.
Yeah.
Everybody if you had a Google account, you had a Google Plus account, and it became the second largest social network overnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
What was
but
it?
nobody's who's on that.
do you remember
Yeah.
like they tried to do like circles? Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And it was
And waves.
never
Oh,
understood
I didn't
it.
even know.
It never made any sense.
Yeah.
That was the first social media account I ever had.
Google Plus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big Google Plus user.
Oh, that was huge. I posted on it maybe twice.
Yeah.
Wow.
My
Impressive.
grandma is
More
my friend, or whatever the hell they were on Google Plus.
That's great. Yeah.
Mark,
She
were you not
followed
one
you.
of the first 5 people on Google Plus, like Gmail?
It was like in the first couple of hundred. Yeah. I was one of the first, I think, and probably the last same category, 1,000 users of Google Waves, which was the predecessor for Google Plus. It was basically a wiki plus a social network that nobody knew how to use. And there was like a book that thick on how to use it right.
Oh God.
Yeah. A lot of fun. Google really
Exciting.
makes the best products.
Yeah.
So,
Josh, I think this is kind of geared towards you, actually. So NPR just put out a report an hour ago about Twitter taking legal action against Threads.
Are we allowed to have laptops up? Is that not cheating? No. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just curious on what your thought is of this being a copycat platform.
Yeah.
And does Elon have the precedent to even
Yeah.
threaten legal action?
So I am a lawyer. I have to remind myself that a lot of times. And you can check out the YouTube channel, Not Your Lawyer. And yeah, so how do I feel about this? I think a meme captured it pretty well. Some people are experts in bird law or contract law. I'm an expert in meme law. I see a good meme and I go, that's probably right. And so the one that I saw that immediately made me think of this is it's just a half and half. And the top half is Elon saying, I fired a bunch of lazy people, good luck with their next job, but they're not going to work here. Get out. I'm paraphrasing. And then the bottom half is Elon again going, how could Meta have willfully hired all of these former Twitter employees? And then it's like, it's the Pikachu face. I'll just continue speaking in
Right.
memes. You let go of a bunch of people. You laid off a bunch of the staff. They created a Twitter copy. But also, I don't think there was that much proprietary. I mean, call me crazy. I don't think there was that much proprietary about Twitter. I think that we've understood the technology for a long time. How old is Twitter? 12 years?
From 2006.
17 years? I just mathed that.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I have a stroke aneurysm calculator. I just Rain Man it. 17 years old. So, yeah, I don't think it
can
was
almost
that hard
vote.
to copy the technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to answer the original question, do I think there's legal precedent? No.
Well, specifically not if there's been, essentially they're building Meta to be, as we said, Fediverse compatible.
Yeah.
The Fediverse has existed as a competing product to Twitter itself as an open source product for close to 11 years.
Yeah.
So that means there's been an open source alternative to Twitter that apes every single feature
I'm more
for
interested.
11 years
I'm
without
way-
legal action.
I'm way more interested in Twitter legally and then eventually Threads legally because they're the data sources for so many of these training models for these LLMs. And they just went out there and they were like, we're just going to do it. And then now, like after the fact, it's like, well, wait a minute. Where did all these models get trained? And how are we going to do this going forward? And there's a lot of really interesting legal questions. And then I think we even mentioned it on the merge on a previous episode, but when I look at like Twitter shutting off like third-party API access, they recently restricted the amount of views that unverified accounts can have. Like all the moves track to we're going to do everything we can to turn off modeling.
Yeah.
That's the most logical explanation. They're trying to restrict LLM access.
See, this bothers me a little bit because like you've built your entire. So Elon came out with a comment last week. I think it was like a tweet reply that he replied to like some news story that said Google says if it's on the open web, we're going to scrape it and build models off of it. And his reply to it, which got screenshotted a bunch, was just oof. Like, how is Google scraping data on the open web any different from you building AI models off of data that you're having people input directly into your platform?
Yeah.
Like that's that's Google's whole value proposition. We're going to scrape the web, index it, and make it searchable. Why is that an oof?
Yeah, we are very dumb monkeys at the end of the day, and some of the monkeys are slightly less dumb, but we've created things that are way past the concept of our lawmakers. It's cringe-inducing. Like when you look at like the Senate confirmation hearings, and like they'll have like an executive from Facebook or Google or something, and then you have like a 80-year-old senator from Alabama, and he's like, the internet doesn't work when my son calls me.
Series of
How
series.
is China gay? You know, and that's a person who's restricted.
So I get it. I was just making note. I'm trying to figure out. I can't remember this guy. Oh, Sherman, Representative Sherman. Every time there's a cryptocurrency hearing, he's somehow asking questions, and he can't get, even though he's got like the cue cards in front of him, he can't get it out properly. And he always, like the last time he was up there talking about Mongoose coin, asking questions because he was trying to make a joke about like a Cobra coin going after a Doge coin and getting eaten by a Mongoose coin, but he just screwed up the whole metaphor, and it was just like, what are you even saying, old man?
How much does a
like
Bitcoin?
it sounds kind of cute when you explain it, but that's about it.
How much does a Bitcoin weigh? Enough to break the ice. Hi, I'm Senator Sherman. I feel unsafe in the inner city.
Yes. Run of dementia patients, I swear.
We're going to lose all 0 listeners to the merge in Alabama.
That's possible. Okay, so but I think despite so I don't know, you're finding some value in Threads, though. Getting back to Threads, you're finding some value in Threads. My whole feed is consistent entirely of influencers that I don't follow anywhere. Like I don't know if it's just because I'm not following enough people, but it's like Paris Hilton and Kardashians, and stuff like Mr. Beast. I don't follow any of these people.
I think it's literally just the skeleton of early Twitter, like just from the poking around that I've done. The porting of the users is massive, and then if they can coincide that with one of Elon's scheduled tantrums, right? So where now I can do a behavior on Threads that I'm not allowed to do on Twitter for even like a week. Like if that happens for a week, now you have people where they create the habit of, oh, this is how I'm going to share this information. This is where the conversation is happening. You could take real market share. Has Twitter had real competition? I don't think so. It's been basically a monopoly on
like the micro
short,
blog.
dumb opinions.
Zuckerberg right here says 70 million users is signed up by Friday morning. Is that the fastest growing since ChatGPT?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's far surpassed ChatGPT.
Yeah, like that's
I just
70
think it's
million is
unfair.
insane.
I just feel like it's
Yeah,
unfair.
I don't know. I don't feel like it's.
I don't know if that counts either, because like we were saying earlier, it's like the WhatsApp thing too, where it just transfers over.
It's going to be like an asterisk. I'm serious. It's like the Google Plus thing. Like this Google Plus was, because you had at the time you had Google search and Google accounts like Gmail and whatnot, and you had YouTube, which was considered to be the third largest social network at the time. And then they said, well, everyone that has a YouTube account now has Google Plus, and if you got a Gmail, so are we number one yet? And like nobody was using it. It was a ghost town. It's kind of like what my feed is right now. Like I've got 112 friends, and my feed is so empty they have to give me Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like the ChatGPT thing was the most like adopters or like people who created an OpenAI account, right? And this is the most rapidly downloaded app. They're different. I don't know. I'm gonna do
Maybe
It was users. It was the first platform to 1 million users, and ChatGPT is like literally like, or OpenAI's ChatGPT was off the chart. They literally like flew off the chart. We could probably pull that up at some point while we're talking. You could Google it, like fastest to 1 million users. And with this, it feels more like a feature.
Yeah.
This is just a feature of Instagram, and then Instagram has I don't know what 1 billion users. How many people are on Instagram? 800 million. Any number's gonna sound right. Use the laptop, Jen, the intern.
2.35 billion monthly active Instagram users.
Doesn't seem right.
I don't know.
I only have like 1,000 followers. This can't be right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going with a little bit of a shorter episode today, so I want to transition to our talk on Airbnb. And this is something you've been working on, a kind of a mini doc for the last, 3 weeks or so?
Yeah, just about. I think this is going into week 3. This is coming up.
So Dallas Morning News did a big feature on this yesterday. I don't know if you probably saw that.
Yeah, I just opened it up.
Essentially, they're talking about the ban on short-term rentals is the best way to put it, but there's a specific carve-out of things that are allowed to be short-term rented in the Airbnb platform and other platforms like it here in Dallas now. Why don't you go into the depth of that? What you saw, what made you want to go into this as a story?
Right. So the first thing that kind of struck me as curious was Dallas is a large metroplex. DFW area is huge. And the morning of June 15th is when I saw this story first. And then Ryan and I got talking about it. This is a first of its kind in many ways. It's not the first ban that there's been in the United States or even in a large metroplex, but it is the first to use coding and zoning to get short-term rentals and Airbnbs out of the vicinity, right? So, yeah, this vote was huge, and it's been going on for, I think, 3.5, 4 years maybe, just to get something as simple as, a zoning commission to say, hey, you can't be in single-family residential areas. That's fascinating to me that this took so long and has been such like I had someone I interviewed said it's been a crusade. I don't know if that word fits. I think that's a little too aggressive, wouldn't you say?
Well, I mean, yeah, if it's a crusade that's been going on this long and this is only the first win, yeah, I don't think it's more of like a siege or a long-term, I don't know, some other battle term, but not crusade.
Crusade seems a little too far-fetched. But yeah, so we're producing this doc, right?
Yeah.
And over the last 2-3 weeks of research, we've kind of come to, I don't want to say any conclusions, but we've come to understand certain responsible parties being involved here that we're still investigating and trying to figure that out.
I mean, so this is the thing that when you and I have had conversations in the office talking about, like, question is like who benefits and how likely is it that these people, these beneficiaries are actually behind the movement, or if it's just like really well-intentioned, misinformed people, because there's a lot of like blowback that I'm seeing that if what they're saying is the honest motivations, then they're definitely not achieving those as an end result.
Oh God, no.
You just want to, I know for our piece we'll be tactful, but you just want to kind of lay it out how it is, like give a sentence or two of what's going on, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you the spark notes. So June 14th, Dallas City Council voted to ban short-term rentals in single-family residential zones. What that means is short-term rentals are considered lodging. They're not considered rentals of any kind. They're not considered housing. It's only considered in the same category as hotels or motels or bed and breakfasts. This ban puts short-term rentals into commercial zones and into multifamily residences. So apartments and then the hotel districts. This kind of matters, but the biggest reason this happened was there was a large movement called Homes Not Hotels, and they chalked all this up to, hey, short-term rentals are bringing violence and crime and prostitution, X, Y, and Z, and people got really upset and vocal about it until the city council was forced to make a decision. If my Spark Notes covered.
That's crazy.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I haven't read the whole thing. I read some Cliff Notes while you were Dallas Morning News. Yeah, all that language you use is just like Cliff Notes for I'm not trying to be racist, but not in my neighborhood. That's basically how I interpret that. Yeah, I mean, so I'm not sure if it's constitutional, and there were some people that were already talking about this being challenged. Some interesting stuff here, right? Like this feels very boomerish in that it's like not in my neighborhood. We're a quiet place. We're peaceful, certain kind of people. And then you got, with Texas, no income tax, but we pay taxes. Like, oh, that's a common misconception. Oh, there's no income tax. Oh, we have very high property taxes and many other forms of taxes that still add up. And when you look at the affordability problem that we already have, I think they're almost tackling it from the wrong angle, because I don't think that Airbnb is like destroying families. But what it is doing, along with hedge funds and institutional investment, is it's making home values so out of reach because you have commercialized what is these residential neighborhoods. So like, it's weird to me that they're taking the stance that feels almost racist of there goes the neighborhood. And it's like, I think there's a more compelling argument, because like, do I think Airbnb is directly contributing to gun violence? No. Like, I think, has it happened? Yes. But that's like saying someone was shot in a Walmart. Why is Walmart increasing shootings? It's like, no, there's just 100 million people passing through Walmart, and then some of them have guns.
Right.
So with Airbnb, it's like, I think the more serious issue is when you have, these house hackers and entrepreneurs. And there's a lot of them. There's communities of them. Dallas is a big hotbed for it. They'll sign leases on 10, 20, 30 properties. I had a horrible Airbnb stay in Atlanta that was one of these such small businesses where they had like 20 units in a building, and everything was wrong. They gave me the wrong code. Like, the cleaning person didn't come. And I'm a pretty straightforward guy. I wear t-shirts, and it was just, they clearly did not have it under control. But by renting that many units, they jacked up the occupancy rate, and they made that rent more per month because they're running it as a hotel, which makes it less affordable for the average person. That's the big issue I see here, and it doesn't seem to be where the discussion's going.
I'm going to jump in here with you. This is something that Mark and I talked about when it comes to the race issue. You're correct. This is a very like not my neighborhood type situation. Yeah. But I want to go back to the zoning. When you put them in multifamily zones, there's a restriction of 3% of the zone itself.
Yeah.
Right? But 3% of a multifamily zone can be multiple entire apartment buildings.
Yeah.
So not only are you harming people that need to live in these apartments that are, rent controlled or are special for low income, families and opportunity, but now you're essentially creating another institution to have hotels when you could spread this out among a lot of things and keep relative affordability. But another thing we've noticed,
it exacerbates gentrification where it impacts it the hardest.
Absolutely. It's almost shocking to see that this ban makes it worse somehow. You'd think Airbnb coming in, oh, this is gentrifying a city or a certain neighborhood. But now with the ban, it's almost like, hey, we're going to make this worse for you. We're going to make the gentrification faster.
Right. Yeah, that's and this is where we were actually kind of trying to dig in, and this is where your research is now focusing, I think, is trying to figure out if, because I've experienced this before dealing with lobbyists back when I ran SiliconANGLE. You remember Art? So Art and I had a relationship with a lobbyist group out of DC that worked with the telco side of the network neutrality issue. And he's going to get down to the weeds in the tech, but hey, we talk about tech on this channel, so it's fine. The
sensitive.
the issue, yeah,
The RSS feed can be directly scraped by
the issue with network neutrality. A lot of people think they know this issue because they saw it on John Oliver, right?
Yeah.
And the anti-network neutrality lobby did a great job explaining their side. The pro-network neutrality side, which is the one that Art and I had a relationship with, did an awful job of displaying their side. And they used horrible techniques like astroturfing to try to shore up their position that were nakedly obvious to the casual observer. In my so on the reason why, the biggest technical argument as to why you don't want network neutrality as a national policy is that it inhibits upstarts from coming into the provision of internet services.
Yeah.
It costs like $30,000 to put a deep packet inspection piece of hardware, software into a central office where your internet traffic is switched, meaning only AT&T, only Spectrum is going to be able to afford that level of hardware. A mom and pop that wants to start a new internet shop can't do that. Similarly, these people that are saying they're trying to improve affordability and improve neighborhoods are basically prescribing, a solution that exacerbates the issue they're trying to say they solve. So either they are being funded by people smarter than them who want the opposite effect, or they're just really bad at describing what it is they're trying to do.
I can't imagine like a world where both sides have a solid argument, because the issue here is we have this homes not hotels movement, which feels very blanketed and covert in their tactics, even though they're very forthcoming. But there's a lot of those people, and there's no way they all just decided to formulate this movement without some help. I'm looking into the possibility of lobbying, but the other side of that, absolutely,
funded by the hotel.
That's what I was
themselves.
thinking.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I was going. But the people I've talked to in the movement are accusing the Airbnb owners of being lobbied together with the hotels, which seems antithetical.
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
No. What's the total? You had the laptop up. What's the total revenue for like hotels in the U.S. versus like Airbnb? I'm gonna guess it's like 80-20.
Oh, probably even more skewed than that.
I'm gonna guess 80-20 in favor of hotels, just because Pareto principle. Am I right? And while he's pulling that up, there's a thing coming, right? And I think it's the undertone in this conversation, and we're hinting at it. Commercial real estate is on a cliff.
Yeah.
And when we look at the price, I guess, insensitivity of the last 2 years to the residential housing market, where are these buyers coming from? Like at a certain point, for the pricing to hold and for the valuations to hold, there has to be a revolving door of buyers, because the financing that it was built on doesn't exist anymore. You can't refinance in the current market. So one of the things I look at with this Airbnb situation is like, and the hotel situation, and then the commercial real estate situation is, what are we going to do with the trillions of dollars of property that there isn't a business case for under the current models? And it's like, that's happening. We're watching that happen. It's really easy to see it when you have offices that are empty and workers that don't want to go in, but then it's also really easy to see it when you have like hotels that are shutting down. And like, I also, like, I'm just pulling a number out of my ass, but like, I would love to see a chart on the investment into new hotels.
Oh, it's going the other direction. Have you seen what's going on in San Francisco? The two biggest hotels by room count in North America were both in San Francisco, and the company that owns them basically stopped paying the note and said, "You bank, you can have it."
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like, show me like 5 years ago how much money in new hotels was built in a year, and then let's look at it now, and I'll bet it fell off a cliff.
I'm sure, yeah.
And then it's like, okay, there's no net new, which means it's a decaying industry. So then the question is, at what point does it no longer make sense, exactly what you said, to service the existing properties?
Right.
And so, that's a domino.
I mean, San Francisco is an extreme example because people are leaving California versus coming in, and also San Francisco is a particularly atrocious city right now for crime, which makes people not want to be a tourist there. But I mean, it's still a bellwether, I think.
yeah, canary in a coal mine, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To answer your question from earlier, Josh, the revenue comparison, the global hotel industry says it's sitting around $600 billion in a market size. Airbnb is reporting $4.81 billion in revenue. That's coming from hoteltechreport.com.
That is global though, so that does sound dramatic. I wanted the U.S., but it's still big, way past 80-20.
I will tell you, I was talking to somebody, I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago. They were mentioning,
no, is that Airbnb's revenue or is that total bookings? Because Airbnb takes a small percentage of revenue.
I think that's their total revenue. Yeah, it says that's massive compared to Airbnb's reported $4.81 billion in revenue.
Yeah, but revenue is not bookings on
That's
Airbnb.
true.
You want
because
bookings?
Airbnb is only taking like what, 20%, 15%.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so you would multiply that by
Let me check.
like 6 for total bookings.
Oh, these are all just
So
comparison price and safety and amenities. Anyways, I was talking to somebody about lobbying. They were mentioning that Airbnb has a huge lobby, like massive. Yeah. But I already done my research on this. Obviously, hotel lobbying dwarfs Airbnb.
Yeah.
Airbnb doesn't even come close in the top 100 of lobbying in the travel and tourism arena of lobbyists. So that, I mean, I think
well, it's
so far in 2023, they've only donated about $600,000. It's literally nothing.
Yeah. But it goes beyond that too, right? It's not just what is the size and power of hotel lobby groups, right? But it's also who owns hotels as a part of their diversified portfolio, and are they also aligned with commercial real estate? And so when you look at like how people,
The BlackRock thing we keep talking about every episode.
the same types of institutional capital that own large stakes in hotel groups will also have a pretty proportional share of commercial real estate. It'll be mixed in. So they have the same alignment. So they're on the same side of this, even if it's not like directly traceable to, one sheet of paper or one term sheet.
This is quite a lengthy investigation, I will say. I thought this was going to be a lot quicker than it's become. But we're coming down to at least what I believe is the bottom of the Dallas ban. And now I'm interested in seeing what the repercussions are going to be of this ban to the rest of the national arena of, are other cities going to copy this? Are, certain neighborhoods going to just outright ban 100% of them versus the 95, 98% about?
Well, we thought we're coming to the bottom, but then we talked to someone yesterday, and it opens up a whole nother thing with apartments and density and, bureaucratic reasons for zoning.
Are we talking about the whole suburbs or the desired?
Suburbs are the desired city.
Right.
Yeah, this guy was. I won't use his name because I do respect him a lot, and I thought he had a lot of interesting points. But on the converse side of that, a lot of his points were out there. Is that the word?
Esoteric,
Right.
eccentric.
Yeah, eccentric and philosophical, but not in like a Socrates way. Who is the weird philosopher that lived in a box, like on the side of the road in Greece?
Doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah, so he was more on
couple
that
of
end
those
where he
guys.
was just like absolutely fucking crazy.
Yeah.
He was great.
I like how soft we've become as a country and a society to where it used to be like prohibition and you had like Al Capone and gangsters like smuggling like hookers and liquor. And now it's like underground Airbnb.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, man.
The alleged
Yeah.
3,500 underground Airbnbs.
Hey, man, you want a place to sleep tonight?
Providing housing.
No drugs, nothing sexual, just a place to sleep tonight.
Can't keep the decibel level above 60. You got to keep it quiet. But
Yeah.
$50 a night, you can sleep right here.
And this is the whole thing too. So remember that guy that used to do the stuff at Dallas New Tech? He had the little device that you plug into the wall that tells you when the party's getting too loud.
Yeah.
Like-
Noise aware. They're crushing
That's
it.
cool.
Noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
This whole thing, this whole problem that exists that they're creating, squashing a whole industry with is solvable with a like a $40 box that you plug into the wall.
Can I tell you why that's not working though?
Why is that not working?
So the device itself works really well.
Okay.
It's not working because all of this evidence of party houses and violence, X, Y, and Z, it doesn't exist. It's not real.
Oh yeah, tell me about that, because you went through and you tried to like look up all these so-called studies and they didn't exist.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
A lot of I understand in certain news stories they're going to redact people's names, but what you're seeing is hearsay. It's someone coming to the news station and being like, "Oh, I saw someone come out of the house and they were dressed like a prostitute, so this is a prostitution ring," and it's like.
How are they dressed? Short sleeves.
Exactly. No, literally, I was talking to somebody.
It's not even Labor Day, and she had short sleeves.
They were talking about someone coming
Wrong
out of the
color
house
shoes.
with heels and a skirt on, and I was like, dude, that's just people going out for a night in Dallas. That's what people do when they're not fucking 100 years old. Like that's just normal.
Yeah.
94.
And this gets to so all these neighborhoods, or the people in this coalition Jen's been talking about in Dallas, probably live in like legacy historic Dallas neighborhoods. They've been a community and grown old and owned their houses for like 30 years. And probably one of them got old and died, and someone swooped it up and turned it into an Airbnb. And now they see young people of different skin colors and just types. And, they're scared.
My great-great-granddaddy bought this land, and his slaves built this house, and we've owned it for a very long.
We were waiting for the technical difficulties.
I had a way to go with it, and I was like, "You don't believe in this enough. Pull out." I bailed.
So, Mark and I were talking about something with Sohail as well. The core of the problem with the violence and the party houses that people are talking about is not that it doesn't happen. There are times where it has happened. But the biggest issue and the reason this ban went through is transient people of color. If you're brown of any sort, these people in these neighborhoods automatically think you're committing a crime. Whether or not you are committing a crime doesn't matter. What they're worried about is this whole transient movement where it's a fucking crime to walk around, in a rental for a weekend and have 5 or 6 of your buddies come and hang out and drink Fireball. Apparently, that's a crime.
It should be. If it isn't, it should
well,
be. I'll say that.
Fireball.
Five men
Fireball,
drinking.
not
Five
the,
men drinking Fireball.
Come on now.
Come on.
It's 2023, Josh. You gotta live a little. Have some Fireball and rum chata.
Not that
You'll be
there's
all right.
anything wrong with that.
If that's where the line of progressive is, I'm a conservative still.
All right. Well, what other? Is there anything else left to explore on? I mean, there's a lot to this story, but I guess narrowing it down. So where's the lines of exploration, and where you start ready to put pen to paper on this?
Where I'm going through with this right now, I need to explore a little bit more on things like taxes.
Mm-hmm.
This ban is expensive as hell.
Yeah.
Super expensive. The city's estimating between $1.5 and $5 million. It's a lot of money.
Wow.
So I want to know where that's going and who it's coming from. And then I want to go and find people that are living in these multifamily residential zones that have short-term rentals coming in and ruining their neighborhood. It might be an apartment building, but that's affected too.
Right. So you're gonna have to get on Nextdoor, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to people on Nextdoor
Godspeed.
and hope it doesn't get super racist immediately.
Well, that's just kind of. Anyway, well, see how that goes for you.
Yeah.
I'm not too hopeful there. All right. Well, I mean, so that was our 2 topics for the day. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to bring to the roundtable? Caitlin, do you have any
I don't
pressing?
have anything.
Nothing.
Mm-mm.
Okay. What's coming up on Not Your Lawyer this week?
We are doing what happens if you get charged for drug possession, which is interesting. Also has a little bit of social commentary on it, because it's weird that we live in a country where you can have a little bit of weed in one city, and that's cool. You're chill. Have a little bit of weed in another city. Mormon jail.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's weird. So we'll explore that, talk about that a little bit. And we were going to do an interview with a young lady who her car got towed. There's a whole scam going on in Dallas with tow companies, and we're going to kind of explore that. So you could look forward to that.
This may venture off into territory because you say don't come to me with your legal problems, Mark. Yours are too weird. But,
No, I say come to me. I'm probably not qualified. They're complex.
okay.
I'm not that smart.
Here's a complex one that you may or may not be able to.
Let's try it.
When I was in prison,
Okay.
always a fun way to start this conversation.
Juicy.
I noticed that there was an extreme disparity within the federal system between someone from California charged with meth possession versus somebody from the Valley charged with meth possession would have wildly different sentences, like to the tune of like a 30-year difference sometimes.
Yeah.
Explain this.
We don't.
I thought federal was supposed to be standardized. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, we have a lot of subjective decisioning that is still given to judges for a wide variety of factors. And there's been a lot of talk about creating like a menu of like standard sentences and like why that's more fair, or creating more objective measuring tests. But it's unfortunate, and it's also a reality that depending on how much the judge likes you, or in most cases dislikes you,
Right.
there can be a 20-year disparity. And they've cleaned up a lot of this, but like they did a study in like out of DC area during the crack epidemic in like the late 80s, early 90s, and like there was a racial difference in sentencing of like 12 years on average for like the same crime. And you hear that and you go, oh wow, that's like extreme racism. It's a little more nuanced than that. Definitely racist. It's just slightly more nuanced than that because of like how high the cost of living was in that area. Yes, you had people that were being charged for the same offense, but there were sometimes like priors were more likely to happen. People were poor. The non-white people were poor, so they had less access to defense attorneys who might have filed less motions or fought less hard. So like it is racism, but it is also a complex, man, how do we like pull this apart? So yeah, no, it's definitely, there are people serving 10 more years, 15 more years for the exact same crime, and sometimes they end up in the exact same prison. That's a crazy thing.
I was in prison with, exactly. That was the interesting thing. They were in the same prison where people were comparing. I was in there with two other Bitcoiners charged under the same statute.
Yeah.
That would just suck to see another person in there for the exact same thing. You're like, ooh,
Yeah.
not fair.
Yeah. I mean, like, so it was a Mexican, a Nigerian, and me, not the beginning of a joke, that were all there for USC 18 USC 1960 Bitcoin crimes. The Mexican had a 4-year sentence. The Nigerian was, I think, 2 years, and mine was 15 months.
And that was a newer law, right? That you were.
It's a newer way of applying the law.
That's got to
Yeah.
be racist.
Well, also,
There's no way.
I think for
Yeah.
that, right, you also get some wide
Clearly.
variance when you get into these like highly subjective or not highly subjective, highly technical, and then also it requires a certain level of comprehension of complex systems.
The Nigerian and I had the same judge
Yeah.
and the same finance bracket, too.
Okay. And what was the difference in sentencing?
Almost twice as much, more than me. Twice as much of a sentence I had.
And then what did you talk about, like his
crazy.
defense strategy or like what kind of counsel he had?
He
or-
got sentenced after me. He actually apparently hired my lawyer to get my defense strategy.
Okay, actually, what you just described is something I'd like to take a look at. That's like the kind of stuff that interests me and then also kind of pisses me off. And so the channel, like the Not Your Lawyer channel, we've tried to toe the line of like everything's authentic. Like I'm not going to get up there and be like, I believe in Cheerios. I don't eat Cheerios. So like we're just going to stick to the stuff that like we actually care about and we're passionate about. And racial reform, justice reform, education reform, drug reform. These are things that like get me up. I get up for it. So I'd actually, I know I've told you in the past that right there. Let me look at that.
Okay.
Get the guy's contact info.
I'll try to get.
Yeah.
He's still in, so I'll see if I can get a hold of him.
Probably pretty easy to get hold of him. at that
Yeah,
point.
I know where he's at.
Yeah.
No, but
So cool. All right. Well, we got another topic to look forward to on that channel. And how we doing on time? Do we need to wrap this up?
I would say so we can film Not Your Lawyer.
Great.
You can plug that one more time.
Not Your Lawyer.
Got the
NotYourLawyer.law.
Have some-
Not Your Lawyer on YouTube. It's pretty good. It's
It's-
young, but it punches.
it's
say
pretty interesting.
entertaining, a mix of entertainment and some, like you were saying, real deal heavy hitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some tips.
Yeah.
We're working on tips.
Little life hacks.
Very real.
Cool.
Also, Mark, I misunderstood you earlier. You asked me if I had any other things. I thought you were asking if I had any questions about what we were already talking
On that topic?
about.
Yeah.
But, okay, so can I talk about my stuff real quick?
Yeah.
So I'm a sex and relationship coach, and if anybody has any questions around their own sexuality, exploring their own sexuality, maybe problems around like early or delayed ejaculation, or trying to figure out how to pleasure your significant other, you can reach out to me on Instagram, also on Twitter, and also now I'm going to download Threads, so you can reach out to me there, and I love answering questions. So, also I have a talk show called Watch Girls Watch Porn on Pornhub.
Cool. All right. Well, let's go, I guess, wrap it up. And then everybody can go log on to Pornhub real quick. Go check that out.
Already on.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll be there. We'll be here next week for that. So, actually, no, wait. We're taking a week off, right?
I'm going to be here.
Oh, yeah, but our cameras won't.
Oh, correct. We'll do something.
We'll do
go
something.
live and do something.
Yeah, we'll just go live from my phone or something. All right. See you next week. Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.